Hi. Is this gonna fit? Welcome to Vlogmas 5. Oops. Look what the bag is open too. Everything in there. I put this over here just in case I need it. So today I'm going to finish up talking about cognitive dissonance. Nothing in there. Use all the pieces. By talking about what to do about it in a nutshell. Because again, when you have avoidant personality disorder, you tend to basically acknowledge that, you know, maybe there's another way of looking at the world, and then immediately flip back to your original thought and just feel worse about it than when you started. Great. Okay, so what do you do about it? Because again, when it gets to that point, it's not even whatever the original wacky thought was, inaccurate thought. It's that you think you're going crazy because you know that what you're thinking is not correct, is inaccurate, and yet you can't not think that way. You know, and you get, there's certain people, I should avoid all politics, but that should be enough to know what I'm talking about, who have whatever the cognitive dissonance is, bizarro thought, and they just like dig in and go whole hog. That's pretty good as far as being in the middle of the camera. And just, you know, that's the reality, and nobody's ever going to change their mind on it. Yeah. You could do that. You could dig yourself deeper into the monkey house. You heard that? That phrase? That when you're in the monkey house, you don't realize how bad it stinks there. And so you just think it's fine when it's really not. And you could do that with cognitive dissonance. That is one way of dealing with it, is just being like, yep, okay, this is it. What I'm thinking is it. I don't think this would go that way. But that is not going to address the reality of the discomfort that you're feeling when you're going through it. So how to deal with it in a way that you can actually cope. First of all, if it helps, and that's a big if it helps, you can confront, oops, these are out of order, the thoughts that you're having, and just absolutely say, no, okay, that's not real, this is real, and go from there, and just bombard yourself with the absolute, true, honest, verifiable facts that are opposite from whatever the distortion that you are having. That is a strategy. That is probably the least effective strategy, but it's a strategy. Let me get it out of the way. What's kind of better, and I mean, this is something that takes a while, and you're probably going to go, ew, yuck, I don't like this. I don't like this at all. is to acknowledge that there is a paradox, and there just is a paradox. And then you can try to accept that you're thinking two opposite things at once, and you don't actually have to come up with a final solution about it and only think of one thing at once. You know, what's difficult about that is you're basically giving yourself a break, which is really hard for somebody with avoidant personality disorder to be like, okay, there's an imperfection here and whatever, that's fine. Even me saying that is probably getting some people, you know, to sort of clutch their pearls, as they say. Because that feels so wrong. I mean, it is so wrong, but that is basically how you know, can approach it. And that's probably the most effective way to approach it, is to look at it and say, okay, I'm thinking this thing. It doesn't make sense, but I'm thinking this thing. Okay, I'm thinking this thing. Okay. And just sort of let it exist. This is where the training of DBT, which I talked about like 50, 100 times. And again, I don't recommend going through the full DBT process, just because you have to do group therapy if you do DBT. And no, I don't recommend group therapy for people with avoidant personality disorder. It's sort of hellacious. What was I thinking I was doing? I think this should go here. However, DBT does have some good thoughts. And again, I'm really sorry I'm being repetitive, but these are the strategies that work. The DBT therapy, there's two things. And actually, one of the things that they recommend, like if you look it up, how do you do, is mindfulness. Okay, yes, mindfulness, effective, not what I would recommend in this case. Mindfulness will help ground you, literally, because that's what you do. You're like, okay, I am a person in this world, and this is physical things that are happening around me. That can be really helpful. But the problem is the paradox that you're dealing with. That's just like, this is bizarre and wrong. And, you know, there's something just completely wrong here about having these two simultaneous thoughts that are going through my head at one time. So yeah, that's no good. So then the other thing that DBT does teach you how to do, and it is actually super effective in my opinion, all my opinion. If it's not effective for you, don't do it. Is the practice of having a thought come into your head and acknowledging it. Don't try to just push it away because it'll just come back, but acknowledge, okay, I'm thinking this thing, and then just, okay, I don't need to dwell on it. I don't need to categorize it. I don't need to judge if it's positive or negative. Oh, that's another thing I should bring up. Complete aside, talking about the video I put out yesterday. Because I said this thing, and as soon as I said it, I was like, oh my God, did I say that out loud? Which was that I think that people with avoidant personality disorder are, how did I put it, that they're more judgmental, or whatever it was. I mean, yes, I think that's accurate. But the reason is for multiple reasons, and among them is that's what we learned. That's how we grew up, where everybody was judging us, and so we learned to self-judge um, in order to protect ourselves, so that we would sort of figure out what it was that we were doing that was causing the reaction of whoever it was in our life, and so that we wouldn't do that again. And so we're hypersensitive to judgment. It is like the thing that triggers us. I'm sorry for that word too, because some people are like, triggering. But it's the thing that bothers people kind of the most, is being judged. So it basically bleeds into our whole life. We spend our entire lives looking for judgment and trying to avoid it, and you know, and that's also how we interact with other people, and also that's how our self-esteem is based on that. Like, oh, this other person is doing this thing that I would be destroyed for. I would be absolutely, never given even the slightest bit of grace about it. Oh, there's another word that's like a key word that bothers people. Sorry. I think I'm going to say them all tonight. You know, I am not allowed to have any sort of, space for being imperfect. However, this person over here, super imperfect, and yet gets all the benefits of life that I'm not eligible for. And, you just get really aware of what's going on with other people. And so, yes, we're judgmental, but we don't act on the judgments. And there's going to be somebody saying, oh, that's terrible. It's still judging. It is judging, and it is what people do. And, that's how people are. I don't see another corner. I think this is missing a piece too. These cute little puzzles. They never have all the pieces. Oh well, right? So, back to the topic at hand, which is how to cope with the cognitive dissonance in your life, which you're going to have. Acceptance is a big helpful thing. Is to just say, okay, yeah, this is happening. I'm not crazy. I'm not making it up. These thoughts are here. They're real. They're not based on reality. In fact, reality is that, oh, there's the other corner. Okay, maybe I'm wrong. The reality is that it's just completely different from how I'm seeing the world, and that's life. I'm not trying to, oh, this one's wrong. I'm not trying to rewrite the planet or whatever. I mean, it's just, I've got these thoughts. They don't add up. There's nothing I can do about it. Whatever. It's strange to say don't fight it, but that's probably the best advice I could give anybody. Don't fight it, because it's not real. So why are you fighting something that's not real? And to say it in that way sort of seems like I'm dismissing. That's not what I'm trying to do. That definitely does not go there. I'm not trying to be dismissive. I'm trying to say you don't have to live that way. you don't have to take every thought that comes in and try to integrate it into your world at all. There's some things that, are just wrong and crazy, and that's the world that we live in. Wrong and crazy. Okay. Um, you don't have to have every thought that comes into your head and decide, okay, well, this is a correct and accurate thought. This actually fits, my life. It's talking about me. Sometimes it's not. Sometimes the distortion, and the thing is that everybody that I know hears something negative and they cling to the negative thought. And they never stop to think, okay, well, maybe the negative thought is not the accurate thought, but the nicer thought is actually accurate. I know I'm a massive hypocrite because what am I doing all the time? Clinging to negativity like, it's my lifeline. Fact. That's what I do. I am a person with avoidant personality disorder. That doesn't go there. I was so confident shoving it in there, and wait, that means that something isn't out of sync because that's the shape. I'll find it. Okay, those are correct. This one is wrong, so let's find it. It's probably this one right here. There. So, I don't know that that's great advice, but that's the advice. You can fight against it if that helps at all. You can fight against it by throwing the facts back at it and saying, okay, well, these are real facts, not this distorted think I'm having. These are the real facts. You can distract yourself with mindfulness exercises, which is, to look at reality and just like, okay, we're going to just completely skip over that thought that came into our head and, look at real things and not focus on this distortion. And the other thing you can do is acknowledge the thought that came in. Realize that you can have two contrasting thoughts at the same time, and it's not your job to resolve that. It's not your, it's not your responsibility to say this one's more accurate than the other. I mean, sometimes it's reality. You can wake up in the middle of the night and the moon is so bright that it's light like the day. It's still night. Okay? It's that sort of thing. And then the other thing that you can do, if something's really bothering you, is you can try to work on that. And maybe your cognitive distortion is that, I don't know, that you're just incapable of having a conversation with somebody else. Okay. I mean, is that really true? I mean, there are people that are mute. My son is autistic. Let's be real. Is that really true that you cannot have a conversation with somebody else? No? I mean, maybe you need to work on it. I mean, I actually, it was kind of a joke and I can't believe it, but I actually read how to win friends and influence people, which is like, I think it's like over 100 years old now. So, I mean, this is a consistent issue. I mean, that was a salesman book, and it was trying to, it's like a religious propaganda for real to get people to send money to a church. These mega churches. But anyway, again, I'm supposed to avoid politics and religion and all that nifty stuff. But seriously, you can do that. You can work on these things a little at a time. And the thing with that is, if you do that, then when you have the distortion thoughts that come in, totally distorted thoughts, then you have more ammo on the side of reality. So it's not quite seems so equal. I mean, I know it's coming up, I know it's totally wrong, but it's a possibility that these thoughts that you're having are actually accurate. Um, well, if you actually work on it a little, whatever that thing is that's sticking in your craw, and I don't mean like throwing yourself into it to, take a class or something like that. I mean, just, you know, read an article or two every once in a while, and you'll get more and more knowledge and say, okay, well, I know how to do this. Now, I mean, there's a big difference between knowing how to do something and actually pulling it off. You know, there's quite a few overweight people in this world who are actually probably, could be certified as nutritionists for all the information they have. They just can't put it to use. But still, more knowledge could help. But I definitely think that the most effective, as bizarre as it is to get used to the paradox and understand that you can have two different thoughts, and that's okay. And whatever. You don't have to resolve that paradox. You don't have to. You can let that thought come in and let it go, and then get out of that situation that's causing you to be dissonant, and causing distress, and go live your life and put it behind you. And I don't mean forget about it. I mean acknowledge that it happened and keep going forward is really the best way to do it. I mean, it feels like you're just sort of deluding yourself in a new way when you start doing that. But if you try, you realize the world doesn't come to an end because you haven't been able to say absolutely without a doubt either this is accurate or that is accurate. Maybe a little bit of this and a little bit of that, and at different times you're one or the other, and that's okay. Whatever, let it go. I mean, the most bizarre thing, I hear it a lot from people that do YouTube actually, is that because, I mean, I don't have a very big channel, so I don't get people saying nasty things on my channel usually. Bigger you are, you're gonna get people that are just gonna say nasty things. And what is it? The phrase is it's bizarre. I was like, what? I was that like it doesn't process in my head. It doesn't make sense. It's something like, other people's opinions about me are none of my business. What? But that's kind of true. So if whatever somebody thinks about you really isn't, I mean, you have no control over it. You can't really change it. And it's, unless they're throwing themselves into your face, really, it's not actually affecting your life. It's just you're dwelling on it. If you can get that out of your head. I mean, this is not quite cognitive dissonance, but it's kind of the same thing. It's just as hard. If you can work on both of those ideas at once, flip back and forth between them, understand that you can have a paradox of this cognitive distorted thought and competing with reality and facts. And that's okay. And also work on the idea that other people's thoughts about you and their, how do they put it? Other people's opinions about me are not my business, or something like that. Bizarre. I mean, again, talk about something that a person with a avoidant personality disorder could never fully grasp. But if you could work on both of those, I think the easier one is to accept the paradox. So when the paradox sort of like gets to you and you're like, no, I can't think about this, think about the other one for a little while, and that will sort of reset your ability to accept that there are paradoxes that are cognitive distortion that you don't need to resolve. I don't know if this helps at all. But as a person with avoidant personality disorder, knowing that you go online and there's like all this well, let's get, or worse, go to a therapist. This is what I'm going to give you for homework. This is what you need to do to fix this issue in your life. And you're like, yeah, no, impossible. That don't work. Those are the ones that kind of work. Anyway, talk to you tomorrow. Bye.